What we're trying to do is be as faithful as possible to the original release of these motion pictures, using where we can Technicolor dye transfer prints that exist from that era, so we know how the filmmakers originally color corrected the film, achieved the level of saturation and contrast.
On Gone with the Wind or any release of that era, actually, when you get a Technicolor dye matrix print, you can't just automatically assume that those colors are accurate.
Back then, the labs didn't throw away their bad prints. They'd go to the smaller markets, and they sent all the better quality prints to the major markets, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles. And so, since dye transfer prints never fade, you have an ugly print that gets found in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and people think, oh my God, it's a dye transfer print. This must be how the film was supposed to look. No, it's a print. It's not necessarily the print.
And we have to kind of make a discrimination, a choice about what we think is the closest, what is in the best shape, what's survived the best.
We were fortunate enough to get a 1939 color reference print that was used at Technicolor at the time of manufacture. It was a real boom to us because it gave us a legitimate snapshot of what this film actually looked like on its release. We had started into our restoration and we had to go back and rethink and rework our work to date after we found that, but it was a great save for us.
The most important thing in the color correction process when I'm referencing the old print is accuracy, the feel of the way it looks, the saturation of the color, the hue of the color.
Because one thing with these Technicolor negatives is they achieve a level of purity of luminance in the color channel of red, green, and blue that you can never achieve with color negative. So if you're not careful, you can go way too far with the saturation on these movies. We're actually reining ourselves in. We're not even going as far as we're capable of because we're using these reference prints to try to match the entire look.
You do have to rethink your colors, and you have to rethink your colors when you're doing restoration modern day because you're using different stocks, you're using different technologies, and you have to adapt your technology to make it an accurate representation of what the original 1939 look was.
This process is in some ways subtractive rather than additive. Video shows you so much. It shows you so much of the color, and the color interacts so much, and the way it actually looks on film, you have to kind of rein that in sometimes. You have to make it a little more subdued.
It's not uncommon in this film, which is very challenging, to have probably about 8 to 12 color corrections in one particular shot just to make it look cohesive.
Most people don't understand that even with motion pictures today, from Harry Potter to Troy, is that every shot when you see a movie actually has been carefully color corrected and balanced so that it's an even looking balance of color, brightness, and density as you view it in the theater. And that went on in 1938. It goes on in 2004.
After we've completed our color correction, we'll start tackling damage inherent in the original camera negative, dirt and dust or debris that have accumulated over the years.
Great care is taken in the preparation of the elements, whatever that is, repairing, cleaning, getting them as pretty as we can make them. It's hard work. It takes a person sitting at a bench, going through the element a foot at a time, and evaluating broken perforations in the film need to be repaired. There's all kinds of physical repair that has to happen first.
We spent an incredible amount of time actually going hand in hand and painting from the subsequent frame, or literally painting scratches or negative tears away.
You can have a scene where an actress is turning her head and there's a specular highlight, a little glint on her eye, just on one frame. Well, often the automated software will interpret that little one-frame glint as a piece of dirt and will remove that nice specular highlight off her eye. And obviously you don't want to lose that. So it does take a lot of human intervention here to make sure it's done properly. As we get more experience with the technologies of dirt and scratch removal, and certainly the realignment software that we've come up with, you know, Singing in the Rain took, what, almost a year to do. Robin Hood was 6 months. Meet Me in St. Louis became a shorter time frame. So as we get more experience with it, it becomes easier and easier.
We're able to unlock what was there originally and take something that's always been beautiful, that's been kind of covered up and maybe smothered a little bit by time and limitations in the format, and we can brush off the unfortunate stuff and uncover what's in there.
We're still trying to end up with a track that sounds like the original of Gone with the Wind, but we do reveal more information in the tracks. In other words, you can hear the rustle of dresses that you could not hear before in the composite track. You can hear percussion instruments in the scoring.
The challenge in creating stereo for an old movie like this is to make it convincing Because in creating stereo, it shouldn't be to, wow, what was that? It should be supporting the picture, supporting the story. When Rhett and Scarlett are trying on her new hat that he's brought her from Paris, in a scene like that, there's going to be almost no difference between a 5.1 stereo and a mono. They're in a room talking, and there's nothing you can do with a scene like that except make it play as natural as possible. Alternately, when Atlanta is being evacuated as the Yanks are approaching and they're shelling Atlanta, there's a lot of opportunity there. There are bombs going off all over the place, some on camera, some off camera. And it supports the picture and the story, but again, not to the point, hopefully, where it's noticed. It should never take you out of the story.
The consumer of the DVD is really getting a huge quality leap in terms of the audio tracks. And now you've got 5 discrete channels of audio information that are basically digital copies direct from the master tapes. It's amazing quality leaps.
The reproduction in the theaters in the 1930s was very narrow. I have filters that emulate it, and when you compare, it's like going from high-resolution stereo to AM radio. So there was always a lot more information in the original recorded tracks, high frequencies and low frequencies, than was ever heard in the original presentation.
We like to view digital technologies as empowering us to mine the information that's been sitting on these film and audio elements that's been sitting there all these years for us to discover. We aren't doing any digital enhancement or digital image creation to create something that wasn't there previously.
We are not allowed to sweeten or add extra things. We are bound by Warner Brothers to only use original elements.
We never try to augment somebody's work. What we try to do is basically replicate what we have in its purest form, and we're trying to replicate the theatrical look of the film. So what we try to do is use period references and sources print-wise to capture the intended projected look, so it looks like we were in the theater at the time.
But we're taking these films that have been basically degrading over the decades. People haven't been seeing the versions that people saw 65 years ago. In fact, people think these films are grainy, or they think that they always were grainy. The truth is, when people saw these films in 1938, 1939, 1945, they weren't that grainy. They're actually quite pleasing. The Technicolor process itself was kind of a grain-hiding process.
The ability to really restore the image back to what was originally filmed is something that is very powerful today, and which really has only been available in a lesser form in years past. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to take these tools really to their limit to find out what they can do to give us the power to get what's really on the negative up onto the screen.
Someday I want you to say to me the words I heard you say to Ashley Wilson. I love you.
There's nothing between you and seeing the absolute best quality that we show the filmmaker.
It's stunning what they can achieve with the picture now.
And it sure is a happy day.
These motion pictures have almost infinite life. There's always new audiences to appreciate and enjoy these pictures. People can see these films in a way that they've never been seen before.
I hope that people continue to love these movies the way I love these movies.